York. Ebro in the morning.
Ebro in the morning. The beautiful Laura Stiles, wrestling sweatshirt Rosenberg, and Kizzy and Jainey. Give it up for Kizzy and Jainey.
Yay!
What do you guys do, Kizzy and Jainey? You guys sing? You dance? Rap? Do you guys rap?
We work on climate policy.
Climate policy. Boat. Jainey, step closer to the mic. And you guys work for whom?
We work for the New York City Mayor's office.
Okay, and so you guys here in New York City, as you know, we have not or are not going to renege on our Paris Agreement and what we're trying to do to contribute to improving climate and improving the environment. So Mayor de Blasio has been very vocal about that. And Kizzy and Jainey, you guys work on this with the city. And talk about, well, and I want to preface this conversation by saying, climate change is something that takes place on Earth normally. But because of humans and the amount of cows farting and other things, we have contributed to the climate speeding up and warming up at a pace that's never been seen before because of several things. But we've all, through the auto companies, through different measures being taken all by companies all over the world and other countries are trying to reduce what we create as humans that contribute to this climate change taking place. Am I saying it right?
That's right. That's right.
Perfect. So what are we doing here in New York City to uphold our agreements and our, I guess, our pledge of allegiance to the Paris Agreement?
So, you know, we've enjoyed a partnership with Washington, D.C. over the last 8 years, and that's clearly changed. And the fact that the Trump administration has decided to back out of the Paris Agreement is completely irresponsible. But Mayor de Blasio didn't waste a second. The day after we heard about the decision from President Trump, he signed an executive order recommitting the city to the Paris Agreement and joined cities across the country, as well as states and companies and universities who have said that they're still going to work to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. You know, we've got two offices that work closely together, the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and the Office of Recovery and Resiliency. We work under one banner called Climate Policy and Programs. The sustainability side, they work to reduce carbon emissions. They have a goal of reducing carbon emissions by 80% by 2050. And the Recovery and Resiliency side, which we're a part of, we're working to address the impacts of climate change that we cannot avoid.
And Kizzy, I want to ask you, how much do these cow farts really contribute to the climate? And I say it that way because I want people to know that because we eat so much beef, right? A country like Brazil cuts down rainforests, which would help keep the climate stable. So we're cutting down trees to have more space to grow more beef, essentially. And because of the type of animals that cows are, and I read this on the air one day and everybody thought it was an effing dork, but it is what it is. They have 4 stomachs and there's something that they do that creates methane, which is the worst gas for the environment.
It's 4 times stronger than CO2, I think.
And so that's very real.
Yeah, it is. And I would say that the consumption of meat is a big problem. We are cutting down rainforests in order to raise livestock. We do that everywhere around the world. I would say that our energy consumption is also a big deal.
Talk
right?
about that.
So we love keeping our lights on. We love our big houses and cars, and all of that needs fuel to run.
I have a big car problem. I'm one of the big car violators.
See, so to be clear, we're like all of these emissions are also coming from our the buildings in which we live, the kind of vehicles that we drive, and the fact that we do need land in order to grow the soybeans that then make the ethanol that make your hybrid car run. So even when you think you're doing the right thing, the point is that if we don't reduce our consumption of natural resources, we are contributing to this climate problem and the deterioration of our natural resources.
Can you explain to us what the urban heat island effect is and why are poor neighborhoods more affected by like heat-related deaths?
Okay, that's an awesome question. I'm so thrilled to answer it because I am stoked. Let me tell you. So the urban heat island effect refers to a phenomenon in which cities are warmer than suburban and rural areas. So this is not where we're talking about neighborhoods being different from each other. New York City in itself experiences the urban heat island effect, which is a wonky way of saying it is up to 20 degrees hotter here than if we were standing in a rural area out in Westchester, right? Or somewhere else that is more suburban. Within neighborhoods in New York City, we do see that there are temperature differences. That's a different phenomenon. It just means that those neighborhoods have more surfaces that absorb heat. And so
Oh man, not to cut you off, Kizzy. Haven't you always thought that? Like growing up, you
No.
be in a hood somewhere, you be like,
And
yo,
it's hot.
Why is it so damn
hot.
Hood,
Right.
B?
And the answer is because you have fewer trees there. One, so trees give us shade. They help clean the air. They put a lot of just moisture in the air that help you feel cooler, right? You're in the middle of Central Park or in the middle of Prospect Park and you feel calm and you feel cooler. You feel nice, right? So we are launching a program that is going to get more street trees out there in these neighborhoods because we want to increase the amount of shade and the amount of these corridors where it feels cooler as if you were in a park. It makes a tremendous difference. The second thing that the hood has a lot of is those black tar roofs. So you have no trees, and then you have these short buildings, these walk-up buildings, right? And people are just baking in their apartments. And so you have these black tar roofs. So again, part of the program we're launching, Cool Neighborhoods NYC. You heard it here.
And then if you're poor, you can't afford air conditioning.
And you only got the one
whole
AC
thing.
unit in
That's
the
it.
front
The
room.
whole
Everybody's in the front room.
That's
These
right.
poor people
That's
are
right.
passing out. That's children.
So what we're doing is we're going to coat those roofs with a light paint, so a white paint, that then instead of absorbing all this heat, it would release it back, right? So the neighborhood itself won't get as hot. The same idea that if it's really hot outside or, if it's blazing hip-hop and R&B out there.
Oh, it's so hot.
Way
Nice. So
Way back.
So New York City right
Then
now.
you wouldn't wear like a black shirt. You would
Right.
wear a white t-shirt. So it's the same thing. We want to coat our buildings with stuff that help the neighborhood just lower the ambient temperature.
So that's happening.
That is happening. That's absolutely happening. And then we see different health impacts in our neighborhoods because we have a lot of, low income and people of color in our neighborhoods. And we have certain health conditions, and we all know that we are at higher risk for certain kinds of illnesses. And then that means that if we don't stay safe and protected during a heat wave, we're not checking on each other, if we're not drinking water, all that, we tend to go to the emergency room more than in other neighborhoods.
We could have the water talk anytime you guys are ready. You want to do it right now?
No, I don't think you need. We're already going to do it throughout the day. So, how expensive are things like this, and how does it get paid for?
Okay, so the city's program that we just announced yesterday is $106 million. And so the city has made this huge commitment, and we're paying it out of our budget, like the city budget. So we're funding $82 million worth of trees for the streets that are going to be planted in the South Bronx and in northern Manhattan and in central Brooklyn, which is where our data tells us that most people that are experiencing heat illness or are going to the emergency department or are dying, frankly, during the heat waves, that's where they're concentrated. That's where we see high heat risk, right? So that's where we're going to start those plantings. We're also redirecting some of our resources. Again, the Cool Roofs program, we're going to start implementing it in those neighborhoods first for the next 2 years. So that's really exciting. We're also launching a program called Be a Buddy, and that's costing us about $1 million.
What's that?
Be a Buddy is going to be an awesome initiative, again, targeting those neighborhoods where we want folks to care for each other. So the idea is...
So turning it from the hood back into a neighborhood.
That's right.
Where you
A
actually
neighborhood.
know your neighbor.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. And so if you're hearing, your awesome host telling you, hey, there's a heat wave, I want folks to say, oh, I got to check on grandma. Or I know my abuela on the first floor, has trouble moving around, so she's probably not going to go to a cooling center. I'm going to knock on her door and see if she's all right, if I can bring her some water. So, just bringing us back to knowing our neighbors and knocking on each other's doors and not feeling so awkward or just sharing information.
Putting the neighbor back in neighborhood.
That's right.
I just said that.
You did?
Yeah.
Verbatim?
Pretty much.
You made me think it. But I didn't.
I said never mind.
You get the idea, because we always say hood, but it was neighborhood.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's not right.
Neighbor.
that's right.
Well, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't imagine, by the way, how bad the Trump administration will want to cut all of these ideas. The $86 million on trees? Excuse me, that could be paying for guns, or we could be lining rich people's pockets with that.
Yeah.
Well, the great thing is that this is not federal money. This is city money. We are making the
God
commitment.
bless it.
That's right.
So now let's go a little deeper, because the reason the Paris Agreement is not happening, according to the words that came out of Trump's mouth, was because he felt like it was unfair to the United States and was going to hurt our economy, which to me said, well, that means you're going to be not making as much coal, not doing as much get oil refining and creating, you know, those types of dollars for those big corporations where there could be potential jobs. And he felt that, you know, other countries that also could contribute like to the global warming issue, China and India, weren't upholding or didn't have to be held to the same accountability that the United States was. Am I saying that right? Is that?
Yeah.
And so are we basically hearing the president of the United States saying that, and I mean, we know the answer is yes, but I guess for everyone watching, that money is more important than, and making money right now is more important than our climate in the future.
You know what's been fascinating, though, is ever since President Trump made that announcement, companies across the country have been recommitting themselves to the goals of the Paris Agreement. They've been making new investments. They've been saying that they're in, and so that says something. Companies wouldn't be doing that if they didn't see that the climate change, that climate change and climate action affected their profit.
Well, and I think they also see, and this is the kind of the part of the nuance of it. I think many companies know that there's plenty of money to make in helping the climate. And there are plenty of jobs to be created in helping this climate issue instead of exacerbating it by continuing to double down on old jobs that are really jobs that aren't going away. So, and that's why a lot of times we spend on the morning on our show talking about how Trump's a liar. And he's lying to many people about their old jobs. Those old jobs are going away, and politicians do not want to talk about how either you need to be retrained, or if you're older, you need to be subsidized because you can't be retrained for jobs of the future. And instead of telling people the truth, we continue to tell people that we're going to create jobs in oil and coal and these things that just aren't going to be there anymore.
Right. Well, and you know, I think that the main piece is that the renewables industry, they are fast growing and they're at a fast pace. They are putting in so many more jobs into the economy now than any coal company currently is able to, frankly. The cost of solar panels has really come down over the years, right? So there is an opportunity here to have this, quote, green jobs piece really be back and center, because we are here in New York City, again, with the Cool Roofs program, we're putting people to work. We are getting youth and adults from that have formerly incarcerated backgrounds or that have been underemployed for years. We hire them to paint those roofs white. It's 70 people per year. We do that. That is a green job. At the end of that job, it's a training program, and then they get connected to a construction industry job. We have the Green Jobs Core program, which we have just recently launched as well. It's another city commitment. Again, the idea is that we can put our communities back to work on things that don't destroy the environment. The last point I want to make about that is I am so sick and tired of this false choice between having a job and having a clean environment. Whether you're talking about climate change or you're talking about air pollution, at the end, the environment is about your health. So you could be swimming in money. If you don't have your health, I don't think that's helping you very much, right? So at the end, if we're polluting our environment, cutting down our forests, if we are contributing to climate change, there isn't a planet we're going to leave to our children or to ourselves,
well,
right?
They're trying to leave.
Right?
They just tested a piece of chicken to see if it could survive in the atmosphere. They're ready to get up out of here,
right,
baby.
Exactly.
You know,
and what do you think we're going to do to the
next?
next planet that we colonize? Like, at the end of the day, these are finite resources, and we should be here to protect them and to not destroy them.
Kizzy and Jainey.
Jainey.
The Kizzy and Jainey show coming soon. It was a pleasure talking to you guys today. And once again, I want to run through, is there the site that people, A, could go look for the jobs, and B, learn more about what you got and what New York City is doing?
Yeah. NYC.gov/resiliency.
Resiliency, cool.
I like it.
Thank
Give it
you.
up. Kizzy and Jainey, guys. There you go.